About doing what? I don't have that much range. We'll get to a point where we can All right, we are live on Facebook. or Facebook. We are live on YouTube. Welcome back, everybody. Get all this set. In about 4 minutes, we will be live on the radio and make the switch over to there. Okay, how do you sound, Ted?
Testing.
Sounds good. Dale, you sound good? Let's see.
Test one, mic. Test one, mic
All
check,
right.
mic check.
Purple,
I can't hear.
test.
All
Can you
right.
give me? I need a little volume if I can.
Yeah.
Test one, test one.
Yeah, I got.
Little more.
I'll crank it up.
Okay.
Once we're all running. Okay. Remember, you have to eat the mic. Talk right into the logo right
I
there.
have to leave in about 11, in like 30 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because I have a listing appointment. They drove in from San Antonio. He's retired military.
Yeah.
Angry because of the war. So I said, yeah, I'll be there.
Well, let's start with that.
Well, you asked the question.
I will.
People angry because of the
Come
water?
on, Dodson, we got a mic for you.
Hey. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Sorry.
Put you on the end there. So you're not doing your veterans today?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we had a mob.
Yeah.
We're over at a different place now because Del Mar closed. That building was
So you're
closed.
not? Are you still on Del Mar campus?
No, we're over at, on, Ayers.
Really?
Yeah.
So the more money we give to the college district, the less buildings they have working.
Well,
Is
they
it-
closed it at $148 million.
How much money does Mark Scott need?
I don't know, but we did.
Talk about the roads. I had a chassis. My chassis on my rear chassis went out. It's these horrible roads. And you don't normally have that happen.
You all right? Well, it's okay because you don't have any water to put in your radiator anyway. So.
That's right. I'll just go get my horse out if I had one.
Where's that quitter? Is there a quitter that used to come in here? every
Tyler?
day? No. Oh, Tyler, he's too
I don't know
old.
where
Yeah, Tyler's out in Port
There's
A.
the guy right there, is he a quitter?
No, I don't think so. He's here.
I need to talk to you. You're the quitter.
Mic
I'm the
check,
one I'm
mic check,
talking
mic check, mic check, mic check. Is this one on? There we go.
Yeah, yeah,
Mic
we're
check,
good.
mic check.
See
Those
about
are yours there, Dotson.
to. What's that?
So,
Microphone? I don't know anything about microphones.
You heard about Gulfstream? They're looking at putting a well in. Did you hear about that? At Gulfstream,
Wait for
Hunter's on the
it.
beach. Yeah, and they're
There it
gonna
is.
assess each owner. That's what they're looking at.
I'm looking for one in the backyard. Really? Even on the inside of a boat? Wow. How deep did you go? Got below clay line, I guess.
This is Island Moon Live on News Talk KUYS 1440 AM and 98.7 AM. Corpus Christi, Texas. It's another beautiful Island Moon Thursday. We have a hilarious cast of characters all ready to jump in. We've got a myriad of subjects, things we want to hit on today. Ted Mandel, Dale Rankin, the one and only Dotson Lewis, Frank Floyd, and Kim Irwin joining us. How's it going this morning, everybody?
Well,
Hanging in there?
we're in water shock.
I brought some water with me.
Yeah, well, that's,
How much is it?
Enough.
So the word went out this week. It looks like in September, we're going to be, what, 7,000? You're saying now 5,600 gallons per household? Is that affecting, are you having potential home buyers ask about water when they come into town?
Well, it's funny you would bring that up, Dale. I was given a mandate by a gentleman who's retired military driving into driving into Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
And he wants his property on the market and sold within 30 days before we run out of water.
Wow.
I know, my mind is reeling, but it's affected the market across the board. On 4 of my listings in the last 2 weeks, they blew apart because of the water scenario and the way the city is run. And if you look on Facebook or social media, you'll see some of the realtors' responses to buyers and sellers. And I think one of the most embarrassing things, I'm embarrassing now, is going to the different little towns and cities. I sell, all over the coastal band.
Right.
And the amount of anger and resentment for the city council, manager, the mayor, all of them, is how come you couldn't handle this?
Right.
It's not an isolated event. It's affecting everyone.
Right.
And then even on the real estate part, the water quality has changed. Have you noticed it?
I have not.
So
I don't drink out of the tap water anymore.
well, I don't either. I bring my water with me, and
I
for
used
my
to 'cause
friends
I figured
too.
It was good for my immune system, but inoculate me against whatever is coming.
Just don't keep the plastic in the sun so the chemicals don't get in. So anyway, on some of the vacant homes as I go to show, and obviously you always need to flush the toilet periodically, but on a daily basis, there's a film on it and in the sink. I noticed this in the last maybe 10 days. So I don't know, just to drink that water and to see the effects that it has on the house, I'm going to decline and say no. But I feel bad for the people who can't afford the bottled water or, don't know the difference. I don't know. I
Well,
have to
so-
think it's hurting them.
So the word is out north of Swinney Switch that we have a water problem.
Yeah, 2 miles north. No, I'm kidding.
The billboard.
When the town named Three Rivers is out of water, you know there's a problem.
You'd think there's another river, Dale.
they're down to 2.5.
The two, not to change the name.
Yeah, 1.5.
And then the Zero River, Zero Lake.
So potential buyers coming to the island are asking about it.
Yes, and some of the price drops are pretty substantial. Texas is a non-disclosure state on those sales prices. I can give you what the last list price is, and I think you can surmise probably what it sold for.
Right.
But there's some interesting ones. There was a townhouse where the old golf course used to be. I'll just identify it that way.
Yeah.
Went down from $399,900 to $199,900.
Wow.
And sold a little bit under, fully furnished. I mean, what I'm wondering is how the tax assessor people are going to assess property taxes with the dropping price in some of the real estate. Now, I'm not saying that it's all dropping, okay? I mean, there's always going to be a bump in the road.
Right.
But there's some sellers, for peace of mind, I think we all know you can't put money on peace of mind, and they're going to sell it because they want to be done.
Right.
Those are different buyers, different sellers, mostly
Right.
sellers in that situation. So, you're going to have different sales. I mean, it's starting to pick up a little bit. The multifamily has been lagging quite a bit, and now we have some sales. I had heard from an owner at Gulfstream that they're looking at putting their own well in and then assessing each owner. I don't know if that's
Gulfstream
happened or not.
condominiums, they're on the seawall.
On the seawall. And
That'd
they're-
take a pretty good size well.
don't you think?
There's what, 200 and some units in there?
No, there isn't 200 and some. I think you're thinking of the higher rises, but it's a 6-story. I don't remember how many's there, but I think it's under 100.
Okay.
But still, it's more than one. That's a lot.
Wow. So, well, I mean, there's people on the island are starting to drill wells. Frank said you drilled one, but you struck saltwater, son.
I went a little too deep. Yeah, we got down to the water table, tasted it, tasted great. Went on down to where my buddy had done his.
Yeah.
And he's on the canal also. Went down 17, punched through, I guess, the clay layer and got down to 21, 22
Now you need a
feet.
desal plant.
And I need... oh, I
Talk
need
to
a-
the council. They'll help you get one.
It was saltier than the Laguna in the canal behind the house.
Really?
Yeah, so I
Interesting.
can't use that hole anymore, so now I have to move to another spot.
Well, now you've also got the issue now with swimming pools you have to have a cover as of September 1 is when this all kicks in. And they said you can do maintenance filling only, which for us is pretty much full because a lot of the bottom of our swimming pools are in water. They're below the water table. If you empty the water out of the pool, it'll float. It'll crack.
Yeah.
So they go out and poke holes in the bottom of the swimming pool, literally. And then they plug them with wine corks, I think. over there.
So that's why everybody's swimming at night.
So we should get into the swimming pool cover business, I think.
Or the wine cork business.
The wine cork business, because if you have a fiberglass pool, it's going to float.
That's going to be a tricky one. That'll float. You know, there's a lot of evaporation, and when the winds come, I mean, the pools do go down.
Yeah.
You know, they do need to be filled more often than some people think.
Right.
You know, just the sun, the evaporation, the wind. I mean, and plus you back flush it, clean it once a week. If you want to have a clean pool,
Right.
it's a good idea to do.
Right. So now they're also saying that once everything kicks in, if you go over. Now, the document I saw said 7,000 gallons, but apparently Frank says that's changed. But if you go over, you pay $4 per 1,000 gallons, and if you get two, you get $500 a day citation. And if you get two of them, they cut you off.
On the second
You're
one-
living in the Motel
Yeah.
6.
That'll be interesting to see if they can really pull that off. Dale, the reason it's 7,000 is that's your basis, that's the average for a household. And so since your basis starts at 7,000 and then you have to cut it 20, whatever it is, 25 or 30%, and that's where they get the 5,225.
The document
or
I
whatever it is.
read
That's where they get
said that the 30% didn't apply to residential, so I'll have to go back and review
Didn't
that.
apply to what?
To residential, it applied to
Oh,
commercial.
absolutely
large
does. And it
commercial.
applies to industry and business too. Everybody. It applies to everybody.
I don't
Everybody
know,
has to
even know
make
how
that
much
cut.
we use.
And that includes all the heavy industry users everybody's all upset about. They have to do the same cuts that we do.
I think ultimately, it's bound to affect the real estate market
Well, you know,
long term.
long-term would be, yeah,
September's is still a long way off,
September is a
and-
long ways off.
and we're not going to have.
Yeah, but
any-
it's not a long way when
we're-
you look
we're
at
not
all
gonna
those
have
water
any
projects and what has to be done.
We're not going to have any desal done. The water projects, the $10 million project is producing $3 million. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm hearing the same thing. Friends in San Antonio, Austin area, what's going on down there? So I come down for vacation, I'm going to have to bathe in the ocean.
Well, that, and what about clean sheets if you're going to be over the limit? I mean, that's the thing is you got laundry, you're, taking a shower, washing dishes, just your basic household
Yeah.
stuff. You know, a family of 4 is going to go above that amount, I think.
A
Yeah.
family of 4 is probably all right. It's the problem is that number, that 7,000 number, applies to everybody, whether you have 2 people living in a house or whether you have 10 people living in a house. And so it's not a per person number, which would make more sense. And maybe they'll adjust that. There's still time, and I know they're still working on it. Like, I know that, Bob's been working on this issue for a long, long time. So at our house, we turn the water off when we're brushing our teeth. We only do full loads of laundry. We only run a full dishwasher. We only flush the toilet when you have to. I grew up in a cottage on a lake. That was always a thing anyway. We take short showers. We only wash our hair. We've been conserving water for a long time now, and that has cut our water consumption down by like 20 to 25% anyway. So if everybody did that, that would be a thing.
Well, if everybody
But
does
that
that-
7,000 number is pretty high for just a couple of people.
Even if everybody does that, they may have to do it, but they don't have to like it.
Well, no.
And you're going to have, and you're going to go to heavy duty water rationing about 6 weeks before early voting starts in the city council
Yeah.
elections.
Yeah.
So I don't see how
Nobody's going to want to vote for anybody.
I don't see how that plays well to the incumbent crowd. And I mean, this has been going on. Like you said, this is not a hurricane. This is something that we saw coming and could have been prevented.
Well,
and
we didn't
chose
see it
not
coming
to.
completely
So how
because
much
it's a
do you
drought.
think? How much do you think long term? What do you think the long term effect will be on the real estate market? Is it going to affect certain price ranges more than others?
I think it's going to affect a lot of people. Right now, the property taxes are extremely high. Windstorm went up, flood went up, some of the homeowners. So when a buyer goes to qualify, we're hoping the interest rates come down. They went up,
Right.
which made no sense. So to qualify, and then you have a high water bill, it's going to knock people out, like your first-time home buyers move up, second home, retired people. I think that your second home crowd, those buyers, are going to think twice before they come here.
Yeah.
They're going to give that a lot of thought. You know, the markets had shifted quite a bit since COVID. There's no rhyme or reason for really a lot of the price ranges. You know, Port Aransas is still sluggish, a lot of multifamily. And we've
Right.
got a lot of multifamily on the market as well. But, you know, how can you sell an area when you've got all these problems? I
Right.
mean, we live by a beautiful area. You know, it's the
Yeah.
body of Christ, Corpus Christi. We live by the water. We live where the number one American dream is to
Yeah.
live by water.
Yep.
But for some reason, it's not
We
being run
corpus it
right.
up.
It's the water everywhere, but not a drop to
Can't drink
thing.
it.
And now the word came this week that the second causeway that we thought was coming looks like it is mired in a process that
Yeah.
may be dead. There was originally 5 routes for the causeway. 2 were ruled out because they were impractical. Now the
Well-
other 3 are ruled out, and the 2 that were originally impractical are the only ones left.
2 got completely vetoed by King Ranch.
King Ranch, the King Ranch could stopped it with a historic designation. I went through and read that
Yep.
statute, and it's unequivocal. If
Yeah.
you don't go through there.
If they don't want it, it's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah, I got a comment on that because I was a little involved. What caught my eye in all of this is there is another option, and that's the no-build option.
Right.
And it may be my age, but I don't recall that being there before. So I've got to ask, are we being set up for that to be the solution?
That's a very good question.
Well, the reason given to move forward
Well, I
was
think
safety.
we're going to jump right to some commercials real quick, and we're going to get right back on the new causeway when we return. Everybody, hold fast.
She looks pretty good in her designer bikini. And underneath it all, she's a true Wahine.
How can you run out of water?
Well, you're surrounded by it.
Makes any sense at all.
I learned a lot. I've been researching. You know, the postman in Flower Bluff, the guy with the man bun,
Yeah.
he worked at the electric power plant 15 years ago. He was a contractor. And during his time, they built 2 diesel.
So we're still on YouTube.
We're on YouTube. That's all right.
Yeah.
But they're using them to cool towers out there.
Yeah, I asked him, did you guys use it or was it for the city? He said they're probably just sitting there rusting. Now, that's just what he
Well,
said.
they're using it. Greg's been on that, pushing that for a long time, and they have an intake permit and but the outflow permit would have to be upgraded. But there's a line offshore. The question is whether it's big enough. It's an old gas line. It went out to a rig, and so they're looking at that. And that one, it was originally at the top of the list, and then it fell off the list. Now it's back on the list because it's the quickest one to get done because they've got most of the permits. But then they had I forget who it was, Greg or somebody was on a few weeks ago talking about it, and there's some issues with. They got up at the council meeting and said they won't let the city use the ponds, any of the on-site stuff, because it could mess with their permitting. So you have to build outside of their footprint, which is doable and still probably quicker than doing anything else. But it only produces, I forget the number, but it's not a lot of water.
No.
It's not a tremendous amount.
You know, listening to that meeting or the workshop, you know, like go get barrels. We'd like to have rain. But did you hear the part about the mall? That if the mall overuses a certain amount of water, that the owner of the mall is fined, or whoever the water is in, and then if they want to distribute it out between the different shops, that they would. So what incentive would it be for someone who doesn't use water, like sells clothing, and then they get fined? Like, I'm really going deep in this, like in a rabbit hole, thinking,
Yeah.
No,
like,
I know.
what
There's a
about
lot
it?
they're still working on about how that works. Like apartment complexes and condo complexes are right now different.
If you got a water hog in Unit 41, then Unit 42 got to pay a fine.
Exactly.
There's a whole
Has
lot-
there
whole
ever
lot
been
of
a
things
city
going on.
that ran out of water before? I don't even know.
Did you read about our Eastern Asian countries, the ones that use Persian Gulf? If you go look at those case studies, I've been staying up at night for 4 nights reading them.
And we are back on Island Moon Live. My name is Jacob Boggs. We are glad you're joining us. Frank Floyd, Kim Irwin, Dotson Lewis, Dale Rankin, Ted Mandel. There's even been a Debbie Noble sighting, and if you're watching on YouTube, she just magically, voice just magically appeared. You can join us on Island Moon Live. We're also on 1440 Keys, News Talk Sports at 98.7.
We're waiting for a flyby from a steerman.
Yes, we've got
We'll be able to hear
a
him
special
coming.
guest showing up later. But Ted, someone was asking me a little while ago about where the causeway is. So let's give people a quick little intro. It was on a program similar to this where the concept first came up of building another causeway, and you were instrumental in talking with Todd Hunter on what was that? On getting things started, or what was the deal?
No, I just got the scared out of me when the causeway in Sanibel Island went down.
Yeah.
And I thought, that sounds like North Padre Island. And I was fortunate enough to get on TV. Todd came on board immediately and understood need, and it moved. And now it scares me again that maybe it isn't happening. One of the news reports said that they're going to expand the existing causeway, not a separate bridge.
Well, if they're
And
not,
That doesn't help.
yeah, if they're not
Yeah.
going to mess with the Park Road 22 and 361 interchange, it's just still going to bottleneck. You're just putting more cars down here faster. For those who are unaware, if you're turning left to go to Port Aransas, that's where it all starts hitting. So we got the Aquarius light, right? The first light that
Yeah.
you hit when you're on the island.
Right.
And then the light to turn left to Port A, which TxDOT's done the best with what little
Those
property they
turn
have
lanes.
there.
About
Amazing.
Yeah.
60% of the traffic turns left.
Yeah.
I went back through my files, and the first time this causeway came up was in 2016 when the Metropolitan Planning Organization made a presentation to the Island Strategic Action Committee. And they came up, there was some federal grant money that was available or something, that's how it got started. And they came up with 5 routes. And the first question from ISAC members was, why don't you just run a causeway from the bluff up 361, because that's where most of the traffic is going? And the response was, because the traffic load between the Laguna Shores Road in Flower Bluff and the Crosstown Expressway at that point was a little above 80%, according to the stories I wrote at the time. And so they were trying to relieve the traffic load in that piece of roadway. So that was out. That didn't, because that route didn't help. The second one that was ruled out was the one that went down Sea Pines because the right-of-way wasn't wide enough to land the causeway. So those 2 routes were thrown out, and 3 routes further south were the only 3 left. Now this report comes out, the 3 routes further south are thrown out, and the 2 routes that were originally thrown out are the only 2 left. So if you look at the map at Sea Pines, if you land the causeway there, if you can't go down the Sea Pines right-of-way, then, because it's not wide enough, there are houses on both sides. The property owner south of the Clayburgh County line owns 1.2 miles, I believe it is, south of the county line from the Gulf to the Laguna. They don't want it. The King Ranch clearly doesn't want it, and the King Ranch has a historical designation, so that's stopped. So the only thing you could do at Sea Pines would be to somehow run it north or south of the Sea Pines right-of-way, and there's houses there. You would have to take out whole subdivisions to run a freeway through there. So I don't see, I'm kind of where Ted is. Looks like the do-nothing option is probably at the top of the table. Maybe we're back to a tunnel in Port Aransas. Right?
Elon, come on down.
Yeah.
I mean, we were.
But don't use any water.
When they started this process for the environmental impact study, Ted, the idea was we need a second route off the causeway in case, just like you said, one goes down, or for evacuation during hurricanes, it was a public safety issue.
Exactly.
Doing nothing doesn't address that. We're sitting right where we are. So one of the things I noticed in the TxDOT information that went out, it did not say there was going to be public hearings. We've had 2 public hearings now in the past. I attended both of them.
Yeah.
And it said they would keep the public informed. It didn't say there's going to be a public hearing, and it did list in there the do-nothing option. So I think it raised a lot more questions than it answered.
And we also have the historical precedent, and Queen Isabella Causeway went down in 2001,
Right,
and South Padre Island was
right.
inaccessible.
So between now and September, Kim, what do you, with what's going on with our lack of a second way to the island and our water problem, what's it going to do to our real estate market? Is it going to be, we've got $1 billion development going in out here, putting in 600 houses.
My thoughts are, this is just me as a real estate agent, that the prices are going to go down because of the water situation. You know, it's going to be hard, number one, to overcome, we're running out of water.
Right.
And there's just temporary things like drilling wells, like in Refugio, Blunzer, those areas, all of that. And we're surrounded by water. I will tell you, 99% of the people I talk to don't understand why we don't have a decel. And I explain, well, some people are worried about the discharge. And they give me a dissertation of how you reuse it. You take it out to the Gulf. In Europe, they go straight down. That's what Europe does.
Right.
The Eastern Asian countries, they've already got it perfected. Beautiful landscaping, that doesn't look like they're running short of water.
Right.
One thing I was going to bring up about the water situation as well, if you go to Amazon, you can get what's called a flume. It's Flume. And what it is it measures your water gallons. Because I'm not going to so much say I trust the city on coming up with how much I use.
Right.
So on this water flume, I would probably recommend it. I'm not getting paid for it. I never heard of it. My daughter, April Knowles, she knows all this stuff.
Yeah.
I just sell real estate. She knows all the tech
She's
stuff.
a columnist for the Moon as well.
I know. I read the articles. I'm surprised myself about the market. So anyway, but that flume we're going to get, and we're going to measure our gallons to make sure we're conserving. And if there's ever a problem with the city that we go over, we're going to have a historical accounting of how much gallons we actually use.
Right.
But overall, yes, Dale, I think it's going to hurt because if we're going backwards on the water and there's no clear end in sight, who's going to want to move here?
Yeah.
Question is, will the military move people here? We know the military base is exempt. The hospitals are exempt, I believe. But still, not all people want to live on the base either.
One of the things that I think we're going to end up running into with this entire situation is the fact that the people who are wealthy enough to where they don't have to care about this, that's not going to dissuade them really much at all. It's going to be the middle and lower end of that market,
Your fingertip houses will still sell.
Yeah. The ones that are worth the money will still sell. It's everybody else that's kind of feeling the pinch in between. And with until interest rates come down and the market really starts firing up again, we're not going to see any of that. But I think it's interesting. Even talking with friends that live in town that are going to be or looking to move out to the island or even the back of the bluff.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we're all suffering from water, but why suffer from water and taxes?
Right.
Well,
you've got the selling season is coming up, the summer season when people tend to relocate.
Right.
And so in the middle of that, drop this problem.
It's interesting. It's kind of, we're getting hit all the way around, I think, here with property taxes and insurance. Yesterday, I got a call from the comptroller's office. First, I thought it was a spoof call or spam, and it was legitimate. I'm like, how can I help you? And what they're doing is they're going back to 2014 to see what units were rented and what weren't, if people paid their hotel motel tax or whatever
Really?
taxes. I said, no habla English.
Wow. Mino Alamo, Mino Goliad.
I know. I said Texas is a non-disclosure and I don't do rentals. I just sell. How else might I help you? And they ask, I don't want to be mean, but they ask a lot of questions. I said, I can't really answer it. But why don't you call the owners directly?
Right.
Well, we can't reach them.
Well,
I answer my phone, but that's it.
If you don't pay the state sales tax, that can be a felony.
Well,
That's serious.
even after they've sold and they have it, I don't know. I don't know the legalities. All I know is I don't know where any of these folks are. It's not my job.
Are you seeing people finding ways around the short-term rental law? Because I've got a couple of houses on my street. What I'm hearing is they're signing 30-day leases.
They're getting
to
pretty
cancel them after
creative.
10 days and
Yeah.
sign another one for somebody else.
Well,
When I see 8 cars at the house down the street from my house, and the next 2 days I see 8 different cars,
the
it's
flyby.
like we're being buzzed.
it's 11:30.
Let's see if we can get him on the phone.
All right, we are going to take one quick commercial break, and we will be back. Keep jamming. Everybody hold fast.
I told him what I'm doing.
She faced the smell of a local hurricane.
We are getting that soon. I don't want to be
Took the falls like you've never
April said,
seen.
you have to Google it. She showed me a couple days ago. April's good.
Left a rash where there
So
was
she
a
said she was doing vacations.
bikini.
We have a pool and we have a double
Texas
lunch.
surfer girl.
So, or
Texas surfer girl.
the city charges me 2 water bills.
Texas.
So I assume I can get double.
Texas surfer girl.
Everybody should cover their rules a little bit.
On the day that she
Is he calling the biplane guy?
He didn't hear his phone ring.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it's this loud in here, imagine what it is in there.
Yeah. How funny. Yeah, with no warning, too.
No, you're,
See if he's going to buzz the tower again.
it's a flyby?
Yeah, we have a biplane flyby from one of our friends going on right now.
I thought that only happened on Top Gun
Right?
and Docs.
Yeah, Frank and I were talking about maybe him going underneath the bridge. That would be pretty awesome.
I guess it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell anybody.
Right? I think it'd be cool.
That's so cool.
took the falls like you've never seen. Left a rash where there was a bikini. Texas surfer girl. Texas surfer girl. Texas. Texas surfer girl.
We got one of our young guys that's getting a ride next week, next Tuesday. Better be ready for it.
All right.
The day that she was shaved.
Flying right along here down in town.
The
Yellow
Peril
has
right across the blanket. Too many words to put into the song.
So he wants to ride, so we're getting him.
But it's
Right,
always
that's
pulled
great.
around as strong. Pulled around as strong. Pulled around as strong.
Quarter time when he was so
Talking about that Texas surfer girl.
I can hear him coming through there.
That's right. It is Island Moon Live. And that was a little bit of Billy Snipes, Texas Surfer Girl. Love that song. Thing's pretty rad. And Billy, good local artist. You can catch him playing here at Doc's Seafood and Steaks. I believe he's usually on Wednesdays, but you can always come check this out and find out. They've got live music almost every day here. Great menu. Best fried shrimp in town. The best crab stuffed flounder in town. I highly recommend you come out and check it out. We're here live at our Waterline Studios, and it's another beautiful Island Moon Thursday.
The scene of a flyby from the Yellow Peril, the Stearman biplane just went by. If you heard buzzing in the background, it wasn't a tugboat.
Yeah, it's the one time it wasn't a barge. Kim Irwin, Frank Floyd, Dotson Lewis, Dale Rankin, Ted Mandel, and my name is Jacob Oggs. We're glad you're joining us. You know, Doc's is a great place to roll out to, and I walked out earlier this morning and looked at my truck and thought, man, maybe it's about time for a new truck. You need that F-250, you're looking for a diesel, you're looking for fleet vehicles, you need to go talk to Frank at Discount Motor Company. He's right there at 6601 SBID, right next to Turner's in the movie theater. Really accessible right there off the side of the road. You can reach him at 851 or 851-2900, or just go to discountmotorcompany.com. You can see their active inventory. Go talk to Frank. He wants to buy your car. He'll pay more than the big box store across the street, and you get to actually talk with the boss instead of just, workers talking to their manager. Go see Frank the Bank at Discount Motor Company. And jumping back into this,
Maybe Frank's got a water truck over there.
Probably.
We could go get about 1,000-gallon water truck, and that way, if you go over your, whatever it is, 5,600
Those
gallons, just take it right out of the truck.
Those days are coming. If you just go to islandmoon.com, you can see Jay Gardner's article where he actually talks about water independence. He did some napkin math a little while ago and figured out that with what he has just around his house, using water barrels, or if he had a collection container, a tank big enough, he could be actually completely water independent. So depending on the tank you have and what you need it for, that's
If you
it.
had one this weekend, you'd be stocked up pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, and if you're gathering from your roof, depending on kind of the angle and the size, a lot of times it'll fill with just a minor amount of rain. It doesn't take that much.
I was out in,
We do that, and you get a number of 2-gallon buckets full of water just off
Yeah.
the roof.
Well, and using those for your plants and things like that's a good way to go. Just watch out for don't leave them too stagnant. We don't want too many mosquitoes
Right.
around.
well, maybe the builders will start drilling water wells when they build houses.
Well, that's funny you brought that up. So on some of this new construction, like on the south side, the builders get a permit from the city. After they close, the buyer can water their yard every day for a certain period of time. So I don't know if they're going to still
To
extend
get it up
this.
and going.
To get it up and going.
Then you got to let it die because you can only water.
I guess it's a thought that counts.
Right. Well, I would, over time, you're just going to have to go to xeriscaping. I mean, I got rocks, so I don't care.
Turf is good too.
But at some point, trying to be independent is going to be the only way to go, I think. And with our water table out here on the island, I'm hearing more and more people are drilling wells.
Yeah, but that's going to start sucking it dry
Yeah, comes the question of how long it takes for it to
long?
get replenished.
to get recharged.
But what is the, other than the water problems, what's the housing market on you said it's picking up a little bit?
Yeah, it is picking up, and like we talked at the last session, you have the higher-end homes where, money's not going to, matter about the water. They'll still care about it, but, it's not a high percentage. And it's kind of like we talked about a little bit earlier, it's your mid-ranged homes.
Yeah.
Your first-time home buyers, retired people. Even on the island, people that retire, they pay their house, they worked hard their whole life, and, their taxes are frozen,
Yeah.
but now they have the water situation.
Right.
So it does affect a lot of people.
Windstorm is not frozen.
No.
It continues
Not
to.
at
They
all.
don't, that's not a word in their vocabulary, Dale.
I wouldn't until they get down here and get the bill.
Yeah.
And once you get the bill, then it starts to hit home. I've noticed that with us, our flood insurance, it's the whole thing, the whole package just continues to go up. I don't know what the answer is. What I see, and we talked about it some in a previous show, you're probably going to see more of a high-end market. It's just going to take more money to have a house down here.
It's going to take a lot more. I mean, your maintenance is high. I mean, you pay to play. You want to go fish, you want to live on an island, you're going to have some of the corrosive environment.
Right.
But you should count on it. It's just the mid-range, but like on interior lot homes, these are non-water homes that are on a dry lot.
Right.
They're still doing well. There was a few sales that were under 400,000, which that's kind of low for now.
For just lots?
Yeah, when I first moved here, you could buy one for 50,000, a
Yeah.
house on a lot.
Right.
Where was my money and my brains back then?
So we have about little less than 100 waterfront lots?
Oh,
left?
yes.
Something like that?
Yeah, I sold one at the end of King Philip. That was a nice one. It wasn't as wide. Remember, they're trapezoid shapes, the way they're cut, the four fingers at the end of the street.
Right.
And that one brought under 450. That was a good comp. He wants to build. So on the another one that's kind of interesting, that's in the option period, we got some waterfront ones. There's one on Aquarius that's over $1 million that went under contract. And Palo Seco was at $814,000, the last list price. And then Doubloon, those are those garden lots.
Right.
So we have patio and garden lots. Patio is your backyard, which is your front yard, the water.
Right.
That your deck, that's the front of the home.
Right.
Those are narrower lots, and you're required to have a deck if you want to go outside.
Right.
So Doubloon is a garden lot, and that's not a bad price.
Those houses are built right on the bulkhead.
That's patio lots. Garden is a setback. So you can have room for a garden or a pool. Kind of gives you a little hint when they say garden lot.
Well, I wish they would have built my house closer to the street, because all I got is a bunch of rocks between the front of my house and the street. I could use that space if the house was further out, close to the street. I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, there's people that tried to build on without a permit over the last 32 years,
Yeah.
and they kind of got shut
Well,
down.
we had the folks from the appraisal district on last week on this show, and I think they're hip to that. If you start building your house out toward the road, they're probably going to get wind of it, and it unfreezes your exemption over 65. You get reevaluated, so if you improve your house, your taxes are going.
So if you're over
not frozen.
65, think twice about putting that pool in, right?
Build at night.
Yeah.
So I guess going forward, are we seeing a lot of houses being under construction?
You have the new subdivision at Whitecap Development,
Right.
and those are big houses.
Yeah.
Energy efficient, obviously.
Yeah. But out in the neighborhoods, I don't see a lot of construction.
Not as much. John Pope with Newcastle Homes, he's got some signs up on lots getting ready to build on. I'm sure, they're just looking at what's going on in the economy, the
Right.
market, and so forth.
Can you find labor?
I'm sure you could. I don't know if they'd be here the next day.
I'm hearing there's an issue with that
Of course
the
there
builders
is.
are having trouble finding labor.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen some houses where there were hammers swinging and the hammers stopped swinging
Oh, yeah.
along about the first of the year due to labor problems.
It's just everything has changed. It's shifted a whole different direction. The same with the supplies, the cost of goods.
I don't think the water shortage is going to affect the builders. Those guys don't really drink water, do they? I think they mostly just drink beer.
They just drink beer, but if they want to go get more beer, they're going to have to sell that house.
I don't think I want a house built by people all hyped up on Miller Genuine Draft. You know what I
Well,
mean? It's
yeah.
after
they all
a
that
few
way?
of those old
You sweat it
Milwaukee's
out.
best, the 90 degrees become a little tighter, which would make a cute house.
But I don't see a lot of construction, and I don't think, and I have not talked to them in a few weeks, but I don't think the building of the hotel down on the seawall is imminent. I think it got pushed back a little bit. So I think we're kind of in a lull right now. Port Aransas, I gotta believe the water situation is probably gonna hit their real estate market, if not as bad, worse than ours. Because they have fewer permanent residents. They have more weekenders.
Right, right. Probably higher usage on 2 days versus 7 days.
Right. We just go somewhere else. If you rather than, of course, they won't worry about water consumption.
No.
But so back to the short-term rental. Are you seeing? Because I'm hearing a lot of complaints about that. People, and I'm seeing it in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And when I put in a freedom of information, open records with the city, they didn't write a single ticket for an infraction in 2025.
They did a couple years ago. It was a builder who was doing short-term rentals on new construction, and he got into trouble.
He signed an agreement.
He signed it, and he did. He's straight up about it, and he paid the fines, and he's still building. He's a good builder. But yeah, they are fudging it. They'll sign a 1 month, and then they're like, well, the people decided they didn't want to be there on the third day.
They ran out of water and they left.
Yeah, ran out of water. So I get those people, those buyers that ask if they can do short-term rentals, and you cannot. Now, in Flower Bluff, it's very interesting. So if you apply for your short-term rental permit, they're issuing them. You can go online and see where the permits are. Like in that D.R. Horton subdivision off of Flower Bluff Drive, a couple of homes I sold in there, they're doing short-term rentals and doing very well.
You can do, I think it's 3 per block, isn't it? There's a number limit. So whoever gets in first and gets their permits done, then everybody else is locked out.
Right.
That was kind of the compromise. Here on the island, we talked about it a lot on this show. It didn't affect the short terms that were already there, and also multifamily can do short term. You just can't do it in residential, RS6 zone.
Right, and it also depends on what the condominium or townhouse bylaws are. So like on your duplexes, Cruiser is a duplex.
Right.
Okay, period.
There's
So
short-term rentals over there. I know people that are doing it.
I know that too. And I cannot sell it that way.
Yeah.
I tell the truth, you cannot do it. I know the owner's doing it.
Well, if you go and if you're living in one side of it, you can go get a bed and breakfast license. But we've never had, the last time I checked, we've never had a bed and breakfast license issued in Corpus Christi.
No, they tried
One
to
guy
get
tried.
one. Yeah.
But he didn't actually live here.
No.
To do a bed and breakfast, you have to live in the house. And it can't be an agent. It has to be the owner.
Right.
And he didn't live here.
Right.
And so he was a couple blocks over from me, and that didn't fly. But you can do a bed and breakfast in a duplex if you license it, if the owner is living in the other side.
That's correct.
But when you price a house, if you're selling a house where you've been doing short-term rentals without a permit, can you price it based on the cash flow?
Okay, it depends on if you're paying cash or getting a loan. If you're getting a loan, the
No.
appraiser is going to have to use legitimate
Right.
data, and the bank probably won't approve it because it violates deed restrictions.
Right.
If you're paying cash, it's usually kind of wide open on cash.
Whoever is writing the check can decide what to do with it. Ultimately, I think it's short-term rentals are going to get revisited. I think they need to close up some loopholes in the ordinance, is what it looks to me like. You can't do more than one 30-day lease in a month or something like that.
Right.
But we can't even keep water coming out of the taps, so I don't know that that's going to
Well,
be
and
higher on our list of things to deal with.
It took us so long to get all this STR stuff. I mean, back in the day, you couldn't say there were two words you just didn't talk about: COVID and STRs.
Yeah.
You know, and we finally got some kind of solving for, you know, here's the play for STRs. He made it legal, got it into practice, and for a while we had enforcement, but there was no one to enforce it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like
They didn't like
whoa.
working on weekends.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so we went by on Tuesday and there was nobody there. But they've since cleaned that up, but it surprised me that they hadn't written a single citation in the year of 2025. When I look around, I see short-term rentals in our neighborhoods. When there's 8 cars, there's no cars, and then for 2 days there's 8 cars, and then there's no cars. You're probably looking at a short-term rental, unless it's somebody with 8 kids that are all over 16 that happen to come down that weekend to visit.
That's
Stay
right.
the
You'd
second
know
home.
that ahead of time. You know your neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, on my street, out of 20 houses, there's probably only maybe 10 full-time residents. So,
Talking about partying neighbors.
yeah.
We're going to take a quick break and then keep the party going. It's Island Moon Live. We're going to take a quick break. Everybody hold fast.
Tell me how to drown them out. Or they just plain crazy, or they just too proud. Don't know you a thing right now. Don't know you a thing, no. I wanna know when you strip down to your soul. What's gonna show when all you see is bones?
So now they've changed it. No short-term rentals, and they send them.
Bad bones, bad bones.
Really?
And then they go online and look at vacation rental by Airbnb, and then they call them and tell them, I know this is free and it has a place there. And then they tip you the price of like $1,000. They actually call you There's one loophole there. I'm not gonna-
You got to keep on moving. Pretend you don't know the time. If you want to sell that story, it's got to have a rhyme. But don't know you a thing right now. Don't know you a thing, no.
They're supposed to, and at one point they had, I think now they have 3 inspectors or
I
something.
wanna know.
Porter
Straight down to
Range
your
hired,
soul.
they have a
What's gonna show
computer
when
program
all you see is
that
bones?
stands. Last time I checked, they only look at VRBO and the 2 big ones.
Airbnb.
Airbnb. So if you just put it on Craigslist and do a side deal that way, it doesn't pop up anywhere. But if you don't pay the state hot tax, it's criminal.
Good old radio.
They don't just fine you. They put
The AM
they,
broadcast
criminal.
on
is
the felony.
just behind. It's right behind.
So people will
When we
pay
send it
those.
to.
So all the city has to
wild.
do is look at the state list and see if there's anything on there that's not registered in the city. I don't know what the enforcement is like.
I don't know, but you know, Ocean Drive has 9 or 11 short-term rentals. They're from back east, and their guy, the point guy, graduated from Incarnate Word Academy. So I had a house there about 3 years ago, and they wanted to buy it for short-term rental. And I go, I can't believe you would get this, but they actually did. They were granted the
Yeah.
short-term rental permits.
The city ordinance says you can have. I think it's 3 on a city block. I think that's the number. And Port Aransas, I was at the council meeting back in, I don't know when it was, before Harvey, when they approved short-term rental, and nobody thought about the downstream consequences. They all just went, well, I can lease my house for how much? And then they didn't, no one stopped to think, well, what's this going to do to the tax base? What's it gonna do it's good for the schools because it's a second home, you're paying the full property tax, right?
Thank God it's Island Moon Thursday. We are live here from our Waterline studios. We've been talking about, of course, a little bit of water and real estate and causeway and when you're moving, into a new house or something, sometimes, you got to worry about parking on the street and stuff with all those short-term rentals. And
Yeah.
Frank, someone got creative with taking care of some parking at Fish Pass earlier. What was that?
I ran up there today to take a look at it, went to the north, came down the access road, and when I went by there yesterday, there was a car buried in the sand point at the water's edge. It had been flooded, and you couldn't see the tires.
On the beach?
On the beach, facing the water. And I went by today, and I don't want to get into the bulldozers on the beach thing, but
Yeah.
they were actually digging out around that. And when I came back from the jetties, they had it up on the forks.
Really?
The bulldozer was pulling it back on forks. He was moving it.
Did you check to see if there was a body in there?
I did not.
No?
But,
Well, you never know. I mean, I'm just saying.
it's been done before around here.
Well, one of the things I've noticed here the last couple of weeks with the tides we've had, I was at the ISAC meeting earlier this month, and they were going to start moving the sand from Mount Padre over to the seawall, and there's no beach at the seawall this week.
No, we had the high tides. We had that late season front with a sustained northeast wind pushed the swell up over 10 foot, and it was this time of year we have high tides anyway,
Yeah.
and it just surged it up, flooded all the beaches,
Could you surf it?
and it was somewhat surfable, but it was really pretty out of control, a lot of it. But I noticed it pushed a lot of water through the channel.
Right.
And on the Laguna, my canals, everything out here is a lot higher right now than it's been.
Right.
But that's a seasonal. Every year I see when it's the low tides, people are all going, I've never seen it this low. I see all these islands when I'm driving. I've never seen it this low.
Right.
I'm going, okay.
Since
I've been on
last
the
year.
island since '79. I've seen it this low.
Right.
And the same thing with the high. I think the only time I can agree with them on the high was Alberto a few years ago.
Yeah,
This Laguna never drained. It stayed full for months.
it did. Yeah.
Which was bizarre.
We got some after Ike too in 2008, but it was a shorter. It was
Shorter
10-foot
duration.
surge time, but shorter duration.
Yeah.
Have you surfed the new pier since the last time we talked to you?
Yes, I have.
Is it changing? Is it getting better?
It's not doing what we hoped yet, but also the swell and combination hadn't been the same. We got a couple of good days there. It's funny, the day after they opened it, me and Nathan walked out on the pier. We were looking at it from out there. And, the pier's a lot taller now.
Right.
And we're looking out on the outside bar on the south side, and it kind of, man, it looks kind of good. And Nathan's going, no, it's small. Man, that's about waist high. So I finally said, well, I'm here. I'm going to paddle out. So he paddles out with me. We get out there. It was head high. And
Really?
a pretty nice form little wave. Only enough for 2 people, so I'm glad nobody else came out. But
Well, it's been we shot an aerial of the end of the Bob Hall Pier this
Yes,
week.
our friend Jeff took a
look-
straight down shot over the end of the pier.
Kind of looked like a crime scene.
Oh my gosh! So I was thinking about taking the girls out, just walking the pier and stuff. And just FYI, if you do take anybody out
Wear
and decide to
shoes.
go walk the pier, wear shoes. There's
Combat boots.
you're going to be out there at the end of the pier, kicking and gouging in the mud and the blood and the beer.
lots of
it's-
blood and beer.
Yeah, sharp things. There's probably discarded hooks, weights, and and tangled line all over the place.
You think
So-
that's going to change when they start charging?
I think it'll change
Yeah.
somewhat. There's still going to be some of that, but it's going to definitely change because there's people out there with 10 rods right now.
Yeah.
And
They're
they're
not gonna-
taking advantage of it. It's not really an
Sure.
enforcement. And they're told
Right.
they can go out there for free, so they're not going to really fault them. But
It's not like we didn't see it coming.
We knew it was
that's
gonna
the
happen
thing.
that
You
way.
can't say, "Oh, I'm so shocked."
Well, it seems to me like if they charge for rods, but if you just want to walk out there, it should be free.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
complain with that.
You know?
But
That way, I mean, it's a public pier. Make it a pedestrian
Yeah.
pier. If you want to fish, you pay. I don't, of course you put your zip code down your pants leg, I guess.
You deserve to get away with that if you
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you do that. Yeah. It's-
My 10-month-old granddaughter is going to be visiting next week, and we will be out at the pier on her first time at the beach, so
Yeah.
we're looking forward to that. And my wife is thanking Dale for the biplane because she was crossing the bridge when the biplane flew
Oh,
over.
that's awesome.
I enjoyed it.
She got tire marks on her roof. So we also had a thing in the Moon this week. We had the manager of the Whitecap NPI project on a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about the activity area they're putting out there. So we ran the drawings this time in the Moon. They're putting in docks, and they're looking for food trucks. If anybody has food trucks, just looking for a place to go. And they're trying to eventually they'll have a restaurant there. They're talking to some restaurateurs, but they're going to have something open this summer.
Yeah, which will be
It's a
fun.
plan.
And then we got another aerial of the work on Commodore's Park. That's going in.
It's starting to look like a park.
I know. It's pretty impressive. Pretty
Okay,
impressive.
what's that little building out there? That
I
looks
thought
like
it was an anti-gravity house.
It looks like a duck blind, or like some kind of blind. Yeah, it's like a strange deer blind.
Well, it was kind of crooked, like a man that lived in a crooked house. or
Yeah.
something.
Well, I don't know. The if you're driving down onto Pins, they have that it's like literally just a blind next to one of those duck ponds.
Yeah.
Where people can get down there and take pictures, and it's just a wall with different kind of holes in it all
Right.
over the place. Some down low for the kids and stuff to
Right.
look through.
Well,
It's-
this one's
it's really
facing the
neat.
neighborhood, so
It's I don't.
it would be a pedestrian overlook.
We've got
so-
some pretty wild neighbors, but not that wild.
I
And,
saw that. I don't know what that thing is, and I was going to ask one of the workers, and I couldn't find one that was close enough for me to talk to because it looks like a crooked house.
So, Frank, what's the surf report for the weekend?
Well, it's actually looking pretty good today, and it's kind of sustained for the next couple of days. I went out at the crack of dawn this morning and checked everything. At 6:30, it looked about waist high and sloppy and weak. I went from Packery, I went to the pier, looked that over, went to Fish Pass, saw them excavating the vehicle out from the
Right.
sand. Came back to Packery and pulled up and kind of looked at it, and my jaw dropped. And I went, what the hell happened? It's like solid chest high. It's a swell, so there's actually period between waves. It's not all windy and choppy. It's got some bump on it, but it actually got pretty good. In just 2-hour period, it changed.
Really? Did the
I went out
surfers
real
find
quick,
it? Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, I went out real fast and got some. So it's pretty fun right now, considering what all we've had for a while. It looks like we have an east swell coming across the Gulf, which if we don't get super strong local winds, which the mornings have been pretty light, probably be good for the next day to 2 days, and then we'll have to see where the weather goes from that. But
You still
those
have?
waves.
Do you still use the buoy? Is it 19 that's offshore that the surfers watch?
It's
You use
420-20.
19 in the winter
Okay.
when the swell's coming from the north.
Okay.
Or the hurricane swells whipping around coming from the north. 2020, the one off of Baffin Bay, is about 50 nautical miles out.
50?
And that's the one we usually look at. There's also one in the mouth of Port Aransas Ship Channel now, out a few miles, which works half the time. But 2020 is the main one we use around here because that's southeast of us, and what's our typical wind direction?
Yeah.
Southeast.
Right.
So that's driving this direction.
That's the one that everybody up north watches. That way, when we get a wind swell come through, or not wind swell, when we get like a solid ground swell, and you're getting 10 to 20 second periods, everybody from Austin starts waxing their boards and throwing it on their Prius and driving down, and yeah, it's,
Well, there wasn't any surfboard waxing going on at the Sandfest last week. Debbie and Jan and I went up there Sunday, and it was cool.
All right, well, speaking of cool, we're going to take a quick news break here on 1440 KEYS 98.7 FM and get you guys some news, and then we will be right back for the 1 to 2 hour. It's been great hanging with you guys. Island Moon Live. We'll be back.
El Salvador.
I wanna know when you're stripped down to your soul, what's gonna shine
treasure. You want to swim over to that island with me and get it? Now, I heard these are shark...
There was a car stuck in the surf down at, they've been there for a few days, I guess.
All right.
Past entrance. And they had to dig it out first.
That's the problem with me.
I thought that through my windshield. So I should have opened the window.
That's crazy.
They probably didn't want to see me taking pictures.
Advantage of the social side.
Oh yeah, this thing was
Don't you love it when the tide is low? Summer breeze cools our souls. The ocean waves are dancing in the light, while the clouds promenade across the moonlit sky. Oh, oh, oh.
Check 1, 2. All right.
Hey baby, let's go to the pier. I'll grab us a couple of beers, drop a line, see what we can find. Yeah, I'll be fishing with my baby in the bright moonlight. See, I can fish and surf all day, but when the moon is bright with the phosphor light, I wanna be with my baby. Ain't enough just to say. You gotta get up, you gotta get round and play the social side, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, a little Billy Snipes. Get you going. Welcome back to Island Moon Live. My name is Jacob Boggs. We've got Debbie Noble, Frank Floyd, Dotson Lewis, Dale Rankin, and the one and only Ted. I am the Causeway Mandel.
Was the cause.
Was the Causeway.
Ted Mandel non-causeway.
option 5.
Yeah, we've
The Ted Mandel option, no causeway.
No Causeway anymore. So are we excited about the Birdiest Festival in America is this week going on even as we speak and into the weekend?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any cool birds? When the wind came in, it brought a lot, I saw.
I did not.
It
Yes.
did bring him in.
Right? I saw something bright red fly by me last night.
Had a bright orange one.
Yeah.
Blue one.
Scarlet tanagers, the
Kind of in
painted
my front yard
buntings.
and with the trees.
I had
I'm
my
gonna-
I
I
was
gotta-
was giving some a little snack to Josie. My daughter was sitting at the office, this morning and looked out, and just outside I saw this quick blue little dot move over,
Yep.
and it was a little indigo bunting.
Oh, they're so pretty.
And Josie saw her first indigo bunting
Yay.
today. It was so
That's
cute.
awesome.
Yeah.
A future birder of America.
Yeah, I know. Well, I feel like hanging out with Jay and Tyler, I've been just kind of birded out, kind of initiated into the culture. I was sitting there the other day and like taking the trash out, and I throw the bin or can in the bin. I look over and I was like, "Hey, look, a hooded warbler!" And I was like, "Oh,
how do I know that?"
Now I know everything." Yeah.
So here on the island, you got to go check out by that Packery Channel Park, and
Yeah.
and the
They're
what's
rebuilding that, right?
Yes, they are. The Nueces County is rebuilding it, and then behind that is the Audubon Society area too, and they nail like grapefruits and oranges to the trees out there, and it attracts even more. So it's a great place to go. I'm going to head out there after this and go see if I can find. I have to go on a birding trip tomorrow with the Birdiest Festival. I'm going to go out
Yeah.
to Fennessy Ranch and shoot. I shoot the people pointing and looking at the birds, not the birds themselves so much. And then on Saturday, they're combining their Big Bloom Festival with the Birdiest Festival at the Botanical Gardens because they don't want to be selling a lot of plants when that whole water thing. So they have it's only $2 to get in on Saturday, and they have the ladybug releases. Josie would love that, and the
nice.
and the butterfly releases, and vendors and food trucks and all kinds of stuff going on there that day. It's
That sounds like
it's
fun.
a community day at the Botanical Gardens on Saturday.
When is Beach to Bay? That the next
That's
week?
the 16th, I think.
16th.
I just pulled that name out of my hat, so I think it's that.
Make
Not
a
quite
plan
there
to
yet.
be out of town that weekend.
Yeah. So it is the Padre Island Farmers Market tonight from 4 to 7
that's
at
right.
Whitecap. And they have the Mass Hole lobster truck. So I will be having a lobster BLT for dinner. Thank you very much.
Ooh, that
They
sounds
must be
delicious.
doing
Oh, yeah.
those more frequently than
Yes.
every month. Because
Twice a month. It's twice a month now. It's the second and
Could
fourth
have sworn I
Thursdays.
just went to one a couple of weeks
And it
ago.
was pouring rain. It was pouring rain last time we had it. No, it's the second and fourth Thursdays now. It's Padre Island Farmers Market, all kinds of great stuff there. And then Tula Blue just announced they're going to be opening their studio on the other two, on the 1st and 3rd.
Good.
First
Which
and
is
third
right
Thursdays
next to
across
the Moon
street.
office, right?
Which is right next to the Moon office.
Yeah, they made me move my truck on Tuesday so they could set up a bar. I'll do that any day. Just let
Just
me know.
drop
Just
the
let me know.
tailgate.
Just drop the tailgate. We'll do that. We'll do that. Yeah, we had a great Piba mixer there, and everybody got to see the studio, and they had a little 20% off sale. I actually put my card in the bucket. I don't usually, but I put my card in there because I might have won a Tulip Blue. As it turns out, I did not win.
I never win
but-
anything, even when I put 10 cards in. I think I was standing next to somebody who shall remain nameless, who put his card in last, right on top, and he won a Koopy doll or something. 'Cause they picked it right after he dropped
Yeah.
his card in.
Well, they usually shuffle around, put their hands in there, and stir it up.
Well, speaking of shuffling around and getting all over the place, Greg Smith joins us now. Good to see you, Greg.
Good morning.
You've
Are you
been
here to announce you're running for council again, Greg?
Mayor.
Run for mayor.
Mayor. Dotson suggested he runs for mayor.
That was met with silence.
His wife said no.
So we were talking about the water problem earlier, Greg. We had Kim Irwin on the show. She said her buyers are starting to hear that we got a problem.
Well, it's all over national news, so if you watch it any place, both the water problem and the political circus, as it was called in Politico,
Yeah.
national,
That's never good.
no,
Never let the drill sergeant know your name.
no. But on the good news front, we've been catching up to a little bit of rain. The Texana's getting some rain.
Is it? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if Texana has water in it, we can eke our way through. If Texana doesn't, we can get by without the lakes, with all the other
Right.
stuff
We
that's
didn't
going
get
on.
much in the lakes.
No.
It didn't look
Oh,
like.
Bob showed me the radar when it was pouring rain, and it's like all this rain north of it and all this rain south of it, and there's this dry band in the middle, and I'm like,
That's
oh,
why
that's where we need
put
it.
the lakes there. Our plan.
So people have been throwing around all kinds of ridiculous dates on, kind of the end of days, as it were. Back in the day, it was November.
September.
I've heard September. Realistically, what are we looking at? Not for, people turn on the spigot and mud comes out. That's really non-realistic, but at least having to go into extreme curtailment and or our water bills go through the roof. What do we know?
September, right, Greg?
We don't know. It all depends on the rain. With it, we've seen a change in climatic patterns. We're going from a La Nina to an El Nino, which is rainier. When this started to happen, we're starting to see the rain. Like I said a little bit earlier, Texana is our key, and they almost always get rain. We got a little bit in the Atascosa that feeds into Lake Corpus Christi. So historical climatic weather patterns are the two lakes, Corpus Christi and Choke.
Yep.
Their rainy season is now till July. And then we've got the September rainy season, and more so in this area.
Well, the lakes under the JFK are overflowing.
Oh, that's right. We need to
They've
be
gone from
pumping out of
muddle and
them.
puddle. Now we got Mosquito Flats over there.
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah, if
We
only we could
should.
pipe that.
Yeah, we don't even need a dam. We just need a pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got, so they're making progress on Evangeline. That's another water source on there. They're going ahead with it despite having some permitting issues on there. And they're hoping to have that going the end of this year, before the end of this year.
Well, what's the light at the end of the tunnel, Greg? We're
Rain. a
2
lot of
3
rain.
years from now. I mean, we don't control the rain. What do we do? How do we resolve this problem?
We actually, we're bringing on a lot of sources. So they're negotiating right now with M&G Chemicals, or CC Polymers now
Yeah.
with it. That's about 10% of the total volume of water we're using.
Wow.
They're going to be going out for bid on water reuse with it, sewer water on there, and instead of the plants using potable
Right.
water, then they'll use this. It won't go into the
There's
normal
3 million
system.
gallons a day just through the Whitecap plant.
Yeah.
goes out.
And this could be up to 15 million gallons a day. That's 15% of the water
That's
supply.
low-hanging fruit, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and they're sticking straws in the ground on the Nueces as fast as they can. Now
But that's coming out a little saltier than they thought.
that's a little dirty water. It's it's short term with it.
Short-term solution.
You put the accumulation of all this together, and we could we get a little bit of rain, and we'll have a water surplus.
What's going on with the water committee that you're on? What's happening with that?
Okay,
It's run dry?
Which one are you on?
Yeah, Farfield Committee. So,
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Bob was supposed to be on that. Debbie's husband, but he switched to another.
No, they put him on the other one.
With it. So what this is supposed to do is to assess the change in salinity due to a desalinization plant. And there were two firms that were in the running for it, and one firm had bought an outfit, and the guy's name's Jordan Furman on there, and
He'd done a lot of modeling, right? He put together
he did.
a lot of the models.
He did a Farfield model for the Port of Corpus Christi in 2023, and he's kind of this modeling genius with it. So it came time to pick him,
and what happened to him?
well, and the reason they picked Spiros is because they bought him out, and here
And
they've
he was
got
there.
they've got the Michelangelo of
modeling.
Farfield modeling. Well, the city gets a letter or email or something said,
Just recently.
he is no longer with us.
He gone.
Right.
But we got old so-and-so here that
And we're
lives
like, yeah.
in
He's got
Timbuktu.
some
So
Legend
do we
stick.
know, did he get fired or did he quit or what happened? Do we know?
He
What's
watched
the
out.
scuttlebutt?
He is no longer with the company.
Yeah, I know. That's
Think woke and things like that. The one thing that was said, it had nothing to do with his involvement with the Farfield study for the
Yeah,
city.
yeah.
Which
of
means
Corpus
that's
Christi.
probably what it was.
Yeah,
They're gonna say that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask the obvious question. If he just did a study in 2022, why do we need another one?
Yeah, it's 2023 because
Three.
council wanted another. Well, okay.
They
So-
want one with a different outcome?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. Some of them do. Some of
Well,
them do.
well, in politics, you keep getting studies until you get the answer
Yeah,
you
that
want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like lawyer shopping.
But this one was done for the La Quinta project. Inter Harbor's a little bit different
It was,
on there.
it was a different project. It
So,
wasn't
so
for this
it,
project.
it's different with it. Now, I'm going through, I'm watching salinity in Baffin Bay. That's about 55 parts per 1,000 right now. And we could get maybe to 40, 42 in Corpus Bay. And Corpus Bay in dry times, that's about what it runs.
Well, I ran a story this time from Bobby Kimmerell over in Flower Bluff.
Yeah.
He's lived there as a commercial fisherman since 1943, I think. And he was talking about a time just after and at the end of World War II and just after when the hypersalinity in the bay, the fresh water came in and blue crabs took over. And
Oh, those are a really invasive
The blue crabbers
species, right?
came down from Baltimore, from Chesapeake Bay,
Yeah.
because they were regulated out there, so they all showed up down here. So the salinity levels in our bays have fluctuated.
Oh, they're
A lot.
extremely variable. And what a lot of people don't know, in the 19th century, that they mined salt outside of Baffin Bay. It was pan salt in the salt flats. That was a
Confederates.
big business.
The Confederacy did that, didn't they?
Well, the Union blockaded this area to stop the salt trade with it. But then later, and with all the packeries, that's where they got all their salt,
Right,
Packery
right.
Channel and stuff.
Interesting.
We were talking-
mine
We're going to
salt.
dive
So-
right back into this and get a little more history of Packery Channel, North Padre Island, and the Coastal Bend here on Island Moon Live. We're taking a quick break. Everybody hold fast.
Bob was telling me that some of the near field studies that they did looked so positive that they didn't go ahead and there was no need to do it. So
What's that?
it's all
No. No, we're good.
it's all a stall tactic. That's right. I mean, and some of them have admitted it, but said they just want to stall it.
How's this all been played? Somebody got to roll a hand grenade in there.
I don't think it's lost the enemy.
Yeah.
Everybody I talk to, they don't care who's on the council, it's just a level of frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I asked Everett if he was really happy about that coin toss now.
Oh, that's funny.
He's not running, right?
No, he's
So,
not.
so that's just a giant weight. Now he can just kind of sit there, and he's a prisoner putting the X on the calendar, knowing he's going to be out in 180 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, freedom.
Have you talked to Todd since the Causeway stuff came out? Have you looked
Some
at all
email.
that?
yeah.
I
I saw him the
did,
other night. I forgot to ask him about
on it. Yeah, I've been hearing more and more noise about the Kennedy Causeway.
Yeah.
And I looked at that, so now, you've got two possible alternatives. And
I don't see how you could do it at Sea Pines.
Yeah.
Where are you going to land it?
Yeah.
And the Causeway, I went back, I was talking about this earlier, I went back, I think you were on ISAC back in 2016. And the MPO guys came in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was the first presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing they said, there's 5 routes, we're ruling out these 2.
Yeah.
One is this one, and one is Sea Pines. Now, the other 3 are gone, and those 2 are the only
They
ones.
take so
I
long.
think they had a change of heart
The options
at the
are no
ranch.
longer there.
I'm gonna refill
looked
my
that way.
water real
Yeah,
quick.
that would be my guess. They've got so much
Every
political
time,
power.
too.
Right, exactly. Don't you spill it.
Don't you
Well,
spill it.
yeah,
Don't waste
that's-
any of that water.
Yeah, it's,
That's it. That's how you know, that's it. The answer is no. In
What
fact,
do you make of the point that they said no build is an option now? And that really hasn't been said before.
No, what is option?
There's a no build option, do nothing.
yeah.
Oh, the no build, no build
Well,
option.
you've got to throw options out. Because they've limited some on there, the question is, do they really want to do a no build? Because no build is disastrous.
why can't you do
Actually, when
something
you look at the
simple?
drawing, does it look like one of the
Couldn't you
options
put a
is the
tunnel
thing we
there?
already have?
They've looked at tunnels. Highway people do not like tunnels. For
Well, there's
whatever
2 options
reason,
on there.
you,
One of them looks like
you
this
can't
is
go
what we
with a
already have.
bridge
Other
because the
ones-
port
So I
would
was looking
fight
at
it.
like, is
They
it
don't
very-
want
Or is that
any
a-
height
is that
because
one of the
rigs
options
and
they
things
can
like
take?
that. And then where are you going to land the bridge?
Right. On Port A. You have to
Yeah,
land it
it's
at
about the RV
Six
park,
Yeah,
yeah.
they gotta
Yeah,
Well, that could be good for you. You
yeah.
get a corner lot.
yeah.
I don't, so there's not really, a tunnel would be the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
option
yeah.
there.
Tunnels
Okay,
aren't-
so
no,
that-
no.
That seems like.
You know,
a
that's-
reasonable
John
answer.
Trice
Get all
was
this
talking
people right
about
off, or hardly at all.
Yeah,
But then if
just
we
never
had to
went
get off.
anywhere.
that was mine. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife. We buy the dollar glasses and we just pick them up.
But man, once they put
All right,
those
where are we
turn
going
lanes
once
in,
we jump back
that
in?
was- I know people complain all the time,
Anything
but I'm like,
particular?
you don't know what it was like
Anything
before we
going
had
on?
those turn lanes.
Oasis
Those
River?
make it, like I never have to take all the back roads and zigzag around.
Anything you can
I
talk
never have a
about?
problem anymore.
That smile.
Well, we can talk desal and talk about that. I can,
Talk about what?
that they've appointed 2 new board members.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Frickin' frack?
Yeah.
To which? To NRA?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a mess. That's
What
a
is
mess.
it?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, segment 2, 10 minutes.
Score's looking better all the time.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Make sure we're live. Everything good.
Oh, that's
What about
Billy
this?
Sipes. I'm looking at that. I'm like, what is this?
Watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon over there.
No, he's got
Here we go.
the landing page for Billy Sipes music.
Oh.
Only I couldn't read it at first. It just is like a.
We need to get Billy to come in. He's been on once
Surfer.
before, but he didn't bring his
And we are back on Island Moon Live. Here at our beautiful Waterline Studios right at the base of the JFK Causeway. We are glad you're joining us here. We've got former City Councilman Greg Smith joining us, Dale Rankin, the one and only Dotson Lewis, Frank Floyd, Debbie Noble, and my name is Jacob Oggs. We have been going through talking about a bunch of different aspects of what's going on in the city. We've been kind of milling around about water and desal and a bunch of stuff, and I think, the city
Bridges.
just needs to have a nice image right now. Everybody needs
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have
yeah.
a good image, and if you're looking to put your best foot forward, you need to talk to Ted at Impact Marketing. He's over there at 423 Schatzel Street in downtown, 887-9300, or you can just go to impactmarketingcc.com. If you need any kind of promo gear, safety gear, hard hats, vests, you name it, fishing gear, logos, embroidery, screen printing, and more. I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff. If you need special cups with an event or your business on there, you just need to put your best foot forward. Go talk to Ted. He is Corpus Christi's premier promotional products purveyor, and he wants to help you out.
Say that 10 times fast.
Right? I know. I actually landed that one. That was pretty
I think
good.
we should
So-
get Ted to go around town and on every water tower in town, just put a sign that says, "Everybody just simmer down."
Well, I thought it was hilarious when they started rebranding Corpus Christi Water at the beginning of this
Yeah.
kind of, well, it wasn't at the beginning, Greg.
No,
you
no,
know
it's
exactly
just-
kind of when it started. But I thought, okay, I think this is kind of a not very timely rebrand for a,
Yeah, right.
For the water, yeah.
And celebrate the water department while we have one.
yeah.
Our new slogan. But I got to believe that we were talking about this earlier. There's probably, it's going to be a political cycle for challengers to basically just point at the incumbents and say, I'm not that guy.
That's right. Yeah, it is not going to be an incumbents election. And a sign that Ted could make to put out down at City Council is check your egos at the door. So we need less yakking and more
Less
decision making.
personal vendettas, less just personal and more.
But you see that a lot
Take care-
over the years at City Council. You get a lot of first timers. They've never been on a
Yeah.
at least not in that
Yeah.
visibility
No.
before, and you never know how that's going to hit them.
Yep.
Some people take it in stride. Some people it goes right to their head, and they go off, get out over their skis.
And as I've talked to Greg before, some people are really good at running for office,
Yeah.
and some people aren't. And some people are really good at doing the job, and some people aren't. And the goal is to have somebody who's good at both, but at the very least, who's good at doing the job. And some people think that running for the job is doing the job, and that is not the case.
It's a completely different.
Yeah.
On that.
What do you think so we're probably going to have some version of a slate of pro-desal candidates, aren't we?
I don't know how we wouldn't. I mean, if someone
yeah.
comes in as a candidate and says, I don't want desal, I mean, the 17 people that vote for him accidentally might cause a little stir, but
Yeah.
Well, if I correct me if I'm wrong here, Greg, because this is an important point that it's not easy to pull out of the literature. When they're talking about September, that's gotten the
Yeah.
attention.
Maybe.
But what that really means is that we are 180 days.
right.
That's the point where we start taking more water out than we're putting in. Correct?
We've got, if we get no more water in, the taps run dry in 180 days.
And that's and that's 180 days from September.
Whatever
whatever
they
day.
Whatever
decide
day
that date is.
Right.
on
And it
the-
could move up, it could move back.
Yes, but that's when people get or city gets real serious talking about fines and increasing your cost and things. Entity that I'm on, the housing authority, we were discussing that. So the housing authority has about 2,200 units and
Yeah.
12 meters.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how do you
Right.
comply
We asked
on
that
that
earlier.
without getting whipped with it? You can tell your tenants, okay, you guys got to cut back.
Right.
But,
Right.
Find the guy with clean hair, and he gets
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, he gets the fine, but when you've got master meters on there, not individual meters.
Right.
Right.
It's hard to tell.
And most apartment complexes in this city, that's how
Right.
they're set up.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So there's a lot of issues.
So
with it.
They
let's
still
say
have a few things to work out about
yeah.
how that's going to
so
work.
let's say we hit the tripwire in September. The election for city council is early November.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
during the month of September, somewhere in there, October,
October.
the polls open mid-October.
Yep.
At that point, we will be somewhere around 150 to 160 days away from a dry tap.
Yeah, and so early voting, it's
Yeah.
an election year election, it will start early. So really,
Yeah.
it's around the 1st of October that people, in that first week of October, you'll be going down to cast the vote.
Man.
So 2016 was a bit of a water election. And it was kind of kicked the bums out. We had the water boils at that point in time. It
Right.
was just basically some issues with city staff. But,
Right.
We had a real dark horse. Dan McQueen won the election. I
Yeah.
called it the not Nelda vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
exactly.
the public was
She got
very
blamed. She got blamed for
frustrated. Yeah. And
There's a little Trump coattails thing there too. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, well, you had a lot of dissension going on. That's when the city manager just sent a memo upstairs, I quit.
Yeah.
So you had a very...
His timing was good in hindsight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You had a very fractious council.
Yeah.
And again, the public
Yep.
was just fed up with the bickering that was going on at
Mm-hmm.
the policy level.
That's kind of where we kind of are now, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have, I think, more bickering now than
Yeah.
we had at
This
that
is
point.
the well.
in time.
It hasn't gone to lawsuits in the past.
Well,
Yeah.
the bickering seems to have risen to a new level where it's hamstrung things.
Yeah, so let's look at the mayor issue on there with it. Okay, we've got an election coming up
Oh, I love
quickly. The voters can decide, and I haven't gone through the charter, but just based on what I've read, is it takes a unanimous vote to agree to either
To
censure
maneuver.
or eliminate.
So it's not a mere majority.
It's not a mere majority, and
also,
you're not
what
going to get a unanimous vote.
No.
So we're just
Yeah.
Does the
wait-
mayor get to vote?
no. The
No,
mayor
she-
doesn't
mayor
get to
doesn't.
vote.
But isn't there some question as to whether, like, if they're going to be witnesses at the hearing also, then how do they get to vote as well?
Well,
I know the
yes,
mayor's
by
lawyer brought
witnesses,
that up.
People on
city
the council, they've been
on
deposed.
there.
Yeah.
And there's another, the mayor is contesting it on a due process that
Yeah.
you can't be the judge and jury
Right,
both.
right.
It violates the constitutional
Right.
rights.
But that's
And
what's
also,
in
we
the
have to-
charter, isn't it?
It's in the charter, but
Yeah.
Never been tested.
yes, it's actually happened before, but has it been tested legally on
Didn't they
that?
try to kick out Mary Rhodes? I
They-
believe there was an
Thank God we have the Barry
They-
Roads
they got
pipeline
it-
now. Thank
they-
God they made that decision at the
they
time
got
that
it
they had
up to I think they tried. I went back and tried to find data, and I couldn't find anything in the minutes. But I found a couple of things that indicated they went through the early part of the process, but they never went to a trial.
Greg, how long has it been in our charter? Or has it been there forever that you can get like 5 signatures to try to get somebody off council? Because that seems
No.
like that's something we wouldn't want in there forever.
Yeah, I don't know, but you think about that's absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because all the people on council that I've talked to have said, oh, no, we're just following the process. And I said, I have to agree to disagree with all of you. You're not following. You chose the worst part of the process.
Five angry people. You can find 5 angry people
anywhere.
Yeah, in one beer joint. Yeah, just sign up here.
Actually,
yeah,
that
yeah.
might not be a bad place to pick up a slate for the next election.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's go down
yeah.
to Vernon's about 3 o'clock in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
See
and,
who we
all
can
right, you
find.
5 here, fill us
Sign
out.
up, sign up,
What
sign
part
up.
of town you guys live in?
Yeah, what district? Okay, that's 4. We got that covered.
Well, then we'll go to Chat and Chew and get.
Yes, yeah, they're all running on a platform of no Lone Star Light left behind.
I gotta. It's going to be interesting to see who runs as challengers.
Mm-hmm.
If District 4, I think we've got a candidate.
'Cause we've
there.
We have a
We-
candidate, and he seems like he's good. He's been talking to a lot of people, so I don't.
Has-
It'll be interesting to see if somebody else
Has
comes
anybody
in.
else spoken up as far as
Not for our
Not in
district.
4 that
Not
I'm
in 4.
aware of.
Okay,
Well,
not for
yeah,
us, but-
yes, there's. I've heard of another one out there. It's a good, viable candidate. He's
Mm-hmm.
been active in the community. We could see that with it. We've got Chief Rocha, the old fire
Yeah.
chief, that's
Yep.
running in District 3.
Yep.
He's,
You got Laura Commons in District 2.
yeah.
Somebody announced in District 1 too, didn't they?
Well, now Everett's out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see a,
Yeah,
So there.
yeah.
So you've
And who
got,
else? Has anybody else said they were running for mayor besides like Gil and Kaylin?
Not that I've heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything else.
And-
Either. But it's also early. They don't
Filing
actually.
deadline is
You don't
June.
file until
Filing
it's
deadline's
July.
August.
It opens
Yeah,
around
it opens in July and ends in
July
August.
22nd around then.
And ends in August. So we got.
So there's time for some
There's plenty-
serious thought between now and then about who may want to get in.
And speaking of time for serious thought, we're going to take a quick break. Go ahead and think amongst yourselves about who in your direct proximity is going to run for mayor. Island Moon Live, everybody hold fast.
My girl is barbecuing weenies, shaking her bikini, nothing like the beach in July. Calling all your girlfriends, surf is up this weekend, starting with a bonfire tonight.
Go running. Good to see you, bro. Hey guys.
Yeah, she doesn't understand the give and take. It's my way or the highway.
Yeah, but also some of those people are really terrible followers.
Well, there's more ego right now.
If the time is right, slice the limelight. Jose O'Donnell or Spallone will make you feel alright. Not feeling alright, you're feeling alright. Pour yourself
Yeah.
a shot of Mexican
Yeah.
red lime. Here's some that tequila and lime. Thank you, tequila.
Well,
Well, especially because that's the only thing that doesn't have to do with rain. It's the only thing you don't need rain for. And we need to have one option that's not rain dependent.
yeah, the past history with that was everybody's always been for desal. They just don't like it in a certain spot.
They don't like it in any spot. Whichever spot you pick, there's enough people that don't like that one. Yeah,
Gil
I know.
would always vote against it. He said, I'm for desal, but I just don't like this.
This one. And Sylvia's been, it's just against industry entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything
Besides the investigation.
Well, they've got all that turmoil going on there. I've gone through. The Oasis River Authority's been running fast and loose. And behind the scenes, you've got Barbara Canales got out.
Yep.
There's and you go and well, yeah.
11 minutes, 30 seconds. Where do y'all want to go? Do we want to hit on Harbor Island?
Well, we haven't talked about the Seagate study.
Okay. Yeah, let's
Did that come out?
get this some Seagate.
Did that
info.
actually come out?
No, it'll be out in about 2 weeks.
We're going from freshwater to saltwater now.
Right.
Exactly.
It's always something.
And we're back on Island Moon Live from our Waterline studios on a beautiful Island Moon Thursday. My name is Jacob Oggs. Debbie Noble, Frank Floyd, Dotson Lewis, Dale Rankin, Ted Mandel, and ex-city councilman Greg Smith joins us today. We've been
Flower Bluff
talking.
historian.
We've been talking about potable water. Now let's talk about some. Sal. And the potential for installing a new Seagate.
We're going from drinking water to flowing water.
Yes.
Or not flowing water, as the case
Not
may
flowing
be.
water.
And so there's a study being done right now, paid for by the city, that is looking at the optimal width of the opening where the old Seagate was between Packery Channel and Lake Padre. And I went back through the question is, what's best they're saying it's for the Encantada Bridge, but it's really for the bulkheads. The question is, what's best? So I went back through my files, and I found in 2016, Paul Sneck-Snyder, he had a study done because they were getting ready to tear out the old Seagate,
Yeah.
and at the behest of the Corps of Engineers. And the question was, when you tear, that was 50-some feet, I think. When you tear that out, how wide should you leave it? So they did a study, and this was before the Don Patricio Bridge, so it's all modeling. But they did know how wide the opening under the Don Patricio Bridge was going to be. 44 feet, I think, is what it ended up at. And the study that they did found that it really doesn't matter how wide the opening is at the Seagate in terms of the water flowing through the canal system. The carburetor is at the Don Patricio Bridge. How the water gets there and how fast doesn't really change much of anything. So I don't know what the new study is going to say, but if the old study was accurate, then it doesn't much matter how wide it is. And when you look at what the developer is trying to do at Lake Padre, he's trying to put big boats in over there.
Yeah.
And if you shrink that opening down to 50 feet and you're running boats with 20-foot beams,
Right.
you're going to be playing Texas chicken over there.
Well, and let's go to a little history with, like you said, that there was an original Seagate, And it's sitting over on the side, and guess what? It's made out of metal, and the thing had a tendency to rust.
And it never,
Surprise!
it was never used.
It
was
was
never even
It
used.
was never used because, okay, here comes a storm, and anybody that's been through a storm knows you go to frantic mode with it. Well, you have to get a big crane because this thing's 55 feet long.
Right.
Right.
So it takes a
Make
little
sure
bit
it doesn't get stuck.
And you
As
got to
you're
sit it
going
out in
down
the
there.
wind as the hurricane's coming in.
Yeah, and all the rust is gone, so it slides in like it's supposed to do, and everything else. So the thing was never used, even though we had several storm
So
events.
it's not
and-
really practical to use in an emergency situation.
You do have Seagate someplace, yeah, with it. So then we've got the whole new Lake Padre and the canals and everything else. And you got to get a Corps of Engineers permit. That's your starting point and your ending point. Without a Corps permit, you're nowhere, nothing, nada.
Right.
So the Corps comes in there and they authorize this because they want water circulation in those canals. Why do you have aerators on there? Because you have no circulation,
Right.
dissolved oxygen with
Right.
it. So,
Yeah.
so they said, oh, well, one of the requirements is you've got to widen this. So Tim Lang and his partner on there spent $1 million or some big sum on widening. That's Seagate.
And now the POA wants to shrink it down to
now
44 feet.
Oh, Lord.
but here's the key thing. Where's the Corps of Engineers? Again,
Right.
If they told us to do it, then where's our permit?
Right.
yeah.
Nobody's
Don't pass
talked to
go,
them.
nothing. That Tim and Ross built that to what the Corps of Engineers said you need to do.
Right.
And that's a wider opening.
Now, there's still a big sandbar in the middle of that Packery Basin, right? And you can see in some cases it was up to, when lower tides, it's up to about 2 foot just under the surface.
Yeah.
And there's still interesting sandbars on clearer days when I have the drone up, you can kind of see. So, I mean, getting into Lake Padre isn't exactly, don't think it's a lake, people. Don't just drive straight in.
It's a sound.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing when they told them to widen it, the thing that the Corps told them at the time, according to Paul, who was doing the permitting,
Yeah.
right? He was talking
Paul was-
talking to the Corps,
Yeah.
and they said that when they built the Seagate in there originally, the idea was you block the water flow from coming in. Well, then along came Hurricane Allen in 1980, took out 1,100 feet of bulkhead from water trying to get out. So
Yeah.
a closed Seagate wouldn't have made any difference. So
I know it would have made a difference. It would have backed water up more.
it would, yeah, but so
It
so
made it
what the
worse,
Corps
yeah.
at the
Made it
time,
worse. It
what
made it
Paul
worse.
said the Corps told him at the time was that the thinking had changed. When they built the Seagate, the idea was you wanted to be able to stop the water flow to protect the bulkheads. Because at that time, the owners of Lake Padre also were the owners of the bulkhead. They were the POA. But then over time, the Corps opinion changed to you want to submerge the bulkheads as
Yeah.
quickly as you can with water moving as slowly as you can allow it to move. You want to get them under the 9 inches under the water where the debris field is, because that's what's best for them. You don't want
Interesting.
fast water coming in. You want a slow moving tide that comes in and submerges them. That's a wide opening. So that's why they opened it to the point that they did. Now
Yeah.
we're talking about
Let's put
going the other way.
Let's put a hose nozzle on that real quick.
Right,
and-
put your thumb over it and see what happens. And now the question is, I haven't talked to anyone on the board. The word I'm hearing with the new board is that they're talking about wanting to put a dam on the POA side of the property line. And again, I think that gets you back to just what you're talking about. I'm not sure the Corps is going to like that.
Yeah, any obstruction in there, the navigation is going to have to go through the Corps. And so we had an event on there that washed out some 50-year-old bulkheads that were end of life on there. And they've opened up more channels, so that decreases the velocity that we
Right.
saw. And where we had the newer bulkheads on there, they handled it fine. So if we actually look at the event that happened, you've got constrictions that slow down the velocity. You have the Down Patricio Bridge on there. You had two bridges. And why did those bulkheads collapse? They collapsed because we had a decent current, but they were end of life. They were not built to spec.
Oh, and you know what else wasn't open? Commodore's channel
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
open.
Encantada.
Encantada wasn't
Yeah.
open, and during that event, Encantada actually did break loose, and there was a little flow
Finally,
through
at
there.
the end, we went down there and got
yeah.
pictures.
Yeah, but I mean, they had one. There was one channel for the water to go through, and that's where
Well,
it
the
went.
modeling
And-
that was done prior to the damage, the water flow modeling that was done, my understanding is that the way the modeling was conducted, it assumed that Encantada was going to have box culverts and be completely open because that's what was on the books at the time.
I saw the modeling, no. The modeling I looked at was a current condition modeling. One last thing, though, talking about the bulkheads, let's talk about that dead end that collapsed, about 5 years ago? Mm-hmm. With it
Where?
there.
Over by the
Maynard
restaurant.
Domes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old German bakery on there. That
Oh, yeah.
you had 100, 200 feet of bulkhead that just one day, boop,
Yeah.
went in. There is zero current, none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
Right.
Why? Because these are 50-year-old bulkheads.
Yeah.
And they're
End of
end of
life.
life.
It slid out at the bottom. And
Yeah.
that's where in Hurricane Allen, the water went over the road right there because there was no opening at
Yeah.
the time. The water came over the road right at that spot because there's a notch out on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And it took out the two bridges on the way in, Whitecap and Gypsy.
Yeah.
And it took out 1,100 feet of bulkhead on the way out trying to get back out.
Well-
I don't see how a Seagate really helps you much there, but
And it
It's
depends.
like a far field study.
It
gets-
took out the end
Yeah.
of the bulkhead right
No,
there
that
behind
guy is
the
no longer with us.
restaurant, too.
it did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the SPID or the Park Road 22 lanes, the shoulder and the first lane were eaten out.
Okay, I didn't know
And
that.
for years before the last resurfacing of those streets, when you drove on the right lane between Commodore and Whitecap,
Feel a
as you
little
went
dip.
past the lighthouse thing, you dipped.
Yeah.
And then the last time they did a resurfacing, I actually was going, wow, I don't feel the dip. Because I was one of the first cars across the causeway after Allen.
Really?
And I put a constable in my old Land Cruiser because they didn't have four-wheel drives in, but they had left cars parked at the country club up on the hill.
That's the only thing left dry, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was the third truck coming across. We had water coming in the door frame.
Oh my gosh.
And those bridges were gone. That bulkhead there was gone at the end of that. So it cut into Park Road 22.
Well, it washed 1,000 feet of the highway dividers, the concrete median barriers on the Flower Bluff side.
Yeah.
That water wanted to go someplace, and boom,
Yep.
washed them in the lagoon. And I was involved in that. TxDOT called us. We made them and to go fish them out and reset them. and there was one that just disappeared. This is a 15,000-pound chunk of concrete, and Hurricane Allen just took it away.
Somebody in the bluff turned it into a house.
I mean, you look at the Grand Canyon, that's the power of water, baby.
Yeah.
Well, when we'll get storms coming through Packery Channel, some of those rocks, those granite blocks, aren't exactly seated correctly or even, and that water will sit there and knock them back and forth. And man, that's a scary sound.
Yeah.
Well, there was one rocking last week when that big cold front hit.
Oh, really?
On the North Jetty, I tried to take a little video. There's two of them sitting, one in the middle going boom, boom, just back and forth rocking.
That's a lot of weight moving around.
Yeah.
And we're talking about storms. Every storm has its own personality.
Yeah.
Every storm
Yeah.
behaves
Exactly.
differently. So, Hurricane Harvey did the same thing. The water came from the bay. Everybody that flooded in Port A, that was bay water. That wasn't Gulf water.
Right.
The water actually going across the jetties, overtop the jetties, spilling out into the Gulf with it. So this last storm,
Back up between the dunes.
yeah,
storm is
Ike and
gonna-
Galveston was the same. It
Yeah.
was bay water coming in and filling everything up. So you, like Dale said, you got that Seagate there that you might
Yeah.
gain another foot or 2 feet of flood.
And I heard it said at a meeting I was at a while back that, we took a direct hit from Harvey here and our bulkheads didn't fall down. We didn't take a direct hit.
Absolutely not.
We missed it by about 10 miles.
Yeah,
exactly.
We were
We're gonna
incredibly
We did not
lucky.
get a direct hit.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to talk storms and upcoming season when we return. Everybody hold fast.
Too proud. Don't know you a thing right now. Don't know you a thing, no. I wanna know when you're stripped down to your soul. What's gonna show when all you see is bones?
Yeah.
I lived right up the hill. On it's got to have a rhyme.
The island right over there. That one guy
Don't know you a thing, no. I wanna know when you strip down to your soul. What's gonna show when all you see is bones?
And it took out the whole where Market Street curved. The lights lit right there. Their house was shingles, 2x4s, and bricks. And two of the brothers were they hiding under the bed, and a 2x12 truck came in wise, through the brick wall and pinned them under the bed. They were down there for 12 hours.
Well, at least they were pinned and not.
Yeah.
George and Ben.
Yeah.
speared.
All right, segment 4, 9 minutes. Welcome back to Island Moon Live on a beautiful Island Moon Thursday. We are coming at you on, if you're watching us on YouTube, hello, just go to Island Moon Live. You can check out this episode and see what it's like to produce a crazy radio show.
Including a flyby by the
exactly.
Yellow
That
Peril.
was fun. That
That
was
was-
fun.
that was
Thank you,
awesome.
Jason Towns from
Yeah, that was
Skydive,
great.
South Texas.
Exactly.
Fruit Island.
Ted Mendel, Greg Smith, Dale Rankin, Frank Floyd, Debbie Noble. My name is Jacob Oggs. We're glad you're joining us. Before the break, we were talking about hurricanes. And like you said, Greg, every hurricane has its own personality, right?
Yeah.
Harvey had its own thing. Hannah wasn't that big of a, I guess, what would you say, atmospherical storm, but it moved a lot of
It
tide.
moved a lot of water.
Yeah,
That storm
don't
surge.
ask Bob Hall Pier.
Yeah.
And duration is a big deal, too. Sure.
Yep.
How big the tidal, but if it, Ike pushed 10 feet of water, and we didn't get much in the bay.
So Ike came in at a weird angle because it was up, the eye was closer up to Galveston. We had that north wind that came through, and Ike actually pushed enough sand over Packery Channel to fill Packery Channel. But there was so much water in the bay, once it started receding, it
took
cut
it
it
out.
back
Washed it
up,
back
cut it open,
That's crazy.
which was just wild to think about. I
Packery
know
Channel had only been
a
open,
couple
what?
weeks ago they finished the weather symposium down in the valley, and Ted had some numbers that he found from kind of the reports and predictions for the season. Now they lump us into the Atlantic, so it's the Atlantic, but the Gulf is in there as well. Named storms they're saying is down thanks to El Nino, and last year we escaped really without anything, to my knowledge. So
the surf really hurt because of it, too.
yeah, I was going to say, Frank, have you heard anything about this year? Are there any predictions or?
El Nino years, typically, I've always felt that stormier, not necessarily hurricanes, but
Yeah.
stormier,
Yeah.
just locally, wetter.
Yeah.
And I tend to remember several of them where we got a lot of pretty big offshore events, storms and things that kicked in surf. And once again, not necessarily hurricanes.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised that we didn't see a single real storm in the Gulf last year. So
Well, Greg, we were talking earlier about drilling wells as the water shortage gets
Yeah.
more acute. You've poked holes all over the ground out here on the island. What advice would you have for people that are listening that are thinking about drilling a well? Is there anything in particular they need to know? I know you've said
Don't drill as deep
before
as Frank
there's
did.
a
Don't
go
layer
too
of, there's a layer of yellow clay at what?
Yeah, it's a green clay.
Green clay at 13 feet?
13 feet below sea level, so that's your ground level. That would be about 20 feet. It's a lens of clay on there, so you want to be above that. The water is salty with it, and it generally has some iron. So you've got to be a little bit careful, particularly if you're going in a swimming pool with it. You make sure you get the water tested. You can go down to Leslie's Pool Supply, take a sample
Right.
on there, and they'll tell you how much iron it's
But
got.
how much, so if I have a swimming pool and I want to use well water, and I just pump it straight in there once I have it tested, I don't have to treat it in any way?
Well, you got to do your usual disinfectant.
That's just
Your
pool
normal
chemicals.
pool chemicals on there, but the most important thing is check for iron. So I think when you go by a house and you see this kind of red rainbow on the side of the house because they have a sprinkler that's using well water, you don't want your pool to look like that.
So, and you just do that with pool
Now,
chemicals?
if everybody
No.
does that, isn't they're all pulling water out of the same aquifer? What does that do?
Well, this shallow aquifer will go up and down.
The island will tip
with-
over.
Yeah.
It's not a, it's
Well,
not a
falling
common aquifer, it's a sand, so you
Yeah.
draw it out in a,
Yeah, in a vertical profile with it. when they originally built the golf course, they watered out of it. But because of the salt content and folks that are thinking about using it for irrigation with it, your salt will build up over time. You get a good rain and that'll flush it through with it. So you've got to be careful. Do not overwater because you're putting a lot of salt there in your ground.
Well, and the golf course, every time a guy hooked one out in the rough, he blamed it on the groundwater that was watering the grass. Right? That's how that.
Well, you gotta have some kind of an excuse for that.
I didn't have a hook until they went to that groundwater.
That's right.
And then I
But
gotta
but
slice.
I've been kind of thinking about drilling a well. Just I don't irrigate, but I could use another source of fresh water. I just wonder what the filter process is.
Yeah, from the swimming pool side on there, swimming pools take a fair amount of water, and folks out there with a pool, you can buy a chemical that really, it actually works. It reduces the amount of evaporation from your pool with it. So you can lose a half inch with a hard wind and a warm day.
Turns it into sludge, so it doesn't evaporate.
It just puts this hard jello layer on top.
Jesus, walk across your pool.
We put shades over our pool when we had one a few years ago, and found that even just partially covered, it helped. It made it more comfortable to be in it because it was shadier, but it really helped a lot with the evaporation.
The going back to the wells, you can't pull a lot of water out of that sand with it, not a high volume, and as far as the pumping requirements and things, it's really simple because it's such a shallow well.
Yeah.
You don't need to spend an arm and a leg. To drill a well in the bluff right now, you're going to spend $10,000-$15,000. But on the
island, you just need a sharpshooter, pair of post hole diggers.
If there was only someone who put a kind of article together with a little list of what you would need to do, we could have that in the Island Moon.
They forgot to say how deep not to go, though.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Don't if you hit green clay, stop.
Yeah.
Stay on top of
I've
that.
run that a few times. I may have to run it again. Put it in there because the more I look around, I was at a friend's house the other day and they said, my neighbors, Ted's neighbors across the street have dug wells. It's going on all over the place now. People are, it's one upside to having the water crisis that we're having is that we kind of have an option out here.
Yeah, and you can actually drink it, and people can drink a fair amount of salt with it. Now, sometimes it looks like an iced tea when you're drinking it. It tastes
Add a
not
little,
like
add a little
tea,
flavoring to it, so you're
sulfur
not really
smell.
expecting it
Yeah.
to taste like water.
Well,
so
that's
it tastes
what
like
Kim-
add a little something to it. Yeah.
That's what Kim Irwin was saying earlier when she goes around and runs the faucets in the houses that are sitting empty, that it comes out kind of funkified.
Yeah.
Not sure what's in there.
Well, especially if it's been sitting there for a
For
while.
years out here, we'd go through periods where our drinking water would smell like pool water, and then we go through periods where there was no chlorine in it at all, and there's little polywogs swimming around in there. And they would literally,
Protein.
they would shock.
Exactly.
Shock it, yeah,
They
just
called
like you
it
do a
plating.
pool.
They called it plating.
Yeah.
But in the pool, you just stay out of the pool for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But when they're shocking the water supply, you can't.
You can't
I
do
guess
that.
you could bathe in bottled water for a while.
And like so much in this town on there, the island's system is separate from the main. All the rest of Corpus Christi's on the same kind of distribution, but the island's not. You pump into, they've got the ground storage tank and the big water tank, and so they chlorinate out here with it, and your residence time can be longer and things because it's under a different pressure.
So
We
gradient.
got dead end mains too.
Yeah.
At one point, we had 1,200 dead end water mains in the city. I assume we still do.
No, they reduce them a lot.
Remember when they used to? They had they would flush the
flush
hydrants out here.
Yeah.
Like they had 13 million gallons a month. They ran out into the storm
Yeah.
sewer.
Remember that? Yeah. Well,
And-
we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. An issue with dead end mains, the chlorine dissolves over time. So on the dead end, and you don't have any chlorine, so that's when all the polywogs and everything else start growing.
We got polywogs.
Yeah.
So I have a question. When are we going to open up and we talked about the Seagate, when do we open up between the under the Patricio Bridge? When do we get water exchanging?
Waiting on a Corps of Engineer permit that is now sitting with the two federal agencies that regulate the Endangered Species Act. We're looking at the
Oh, the
turtles
manatee, that's right.
and the manatees.
Spotted eagle rays.
And once those come back, I'm told that the Corps of Engineer guy said Once they get those back, it's just a matter of a few days until we'll get a permit. There is an agreement that is, I believe, going to be attached to the water flow study that's coming out in May that includes the letter that agreed to take the dam out between Whitecap and the POA canals.
Yep.
And also the agreement between the POA and the property owner at
On the other
Lake
side.
Padre.
Yep.
That agreement originally said, unless it's been altered, said that when the water flows under Commodores, that bridge comes out, and that's what the property owner has told me every time I've asked him.
Yep.
So I think
So we're waiting to hear
those will
from-
happen simultaneously.
So we're waiting to hear from the Corps of Engineers about manatees.
So in the meantime,
And turtles.
in the
Okay.
meantime, we are glad you joined us here on Island Moon Live, where we're here every
We're
Thursday,
damming up the radio
11
flow.
to 12, and then 1 to 2 on 1440 KEYS Corpus Christi and 98.7 FM. It is Island Moon Live out. Everybody keep it on Island Time.
When you strip down to your soul, what's gonna show when all you see is bones? Bad bones, yeah.
Once I fly down to Vegas, I was booked on the very front row. Thought I might catch some sleep, maybe stare out the window. When I bought her from the very first group, she must have had high priority. I told her I'm a frequent flyer. She says I fly for free. She was sitting on the aisle. She looked up at me and smiled. I felt really lucky to be sitting next to her for a while. For the next 3 hours I knew I'd be riding in style. She wasn't off duty,